Hola, ¿cómo estás? Espero que te encuentres muy bien. Hoy en el Mundo para ti tenemos una entrevista muy interesante con Rachel Moseley. Ella es embajadora de Australia en México y te va a platicar de cosas muy interesantes de su país, de lo maravilloso que es su país y sobre todo de su relación con México. Te invito a ver y escuchar. Rachel Moseley, Ambassador of Australia, how are you?
I'm very well. Lovely to be with you.
Ambassador, what is your academic training?
Well, thank you for having me today. In terms of my academic background, I have a Bachelor's of Arts in European Studies, which meant I majored in Italian and history at the Australian National University. I spent the last year of my degree at the University of Bologna in Italy. And then I did a Master's of International Relations at the University of New South Wales in Sydney.
Okay. ¿Cuál es su experiencia profesional? What is your professional experience?
So I've been with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade for around 22 years now. I started as a graduate trainee to learn the ropes. And then my first posting was in Geneva, where I worked at the Australian Permanent Mission to the United Nations, focused on disarmament work. My next role was as an advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Stephen Smith. He then became our Defence Minister and is currently now Australia's High Commissioner in London, actually. After that, I was posted in Mexico as the first secretary and deputy head of mission. So this is my second time being posted in Mexico. During those years, Mexico had the presidency of the G20. So that was a very big focus of the embassy at that time. Very exciting time to be working in Mexico. Mexico did a fabulous job of hosting G20 in 2012. I then went back to Australia and I did a number of roles on the corporate side, working in human resources, diplomatic security. I then did a posting in Papua New Guinea as the Deputy High Commissioner there. And before coming to Mexico as ambassador, I was leading Australia's Ukraine task force, which looked at Australia's response to Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine.
Okay. ¿Con qué misión llegó a México? With what mission did you arrive to Mexico?
So in Mexico, I have three priorities. The first is to focus on bilateral trade and investment and seeing what we can do to boost that. At the moment, Mexico is Australia's largest trading partner in Latin America, and our trade in goods and services is worth around 5 billion Australian dollars. We've seen an increase in trade and investment as a result of the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or as we call it, the CPTPP for short. And with the lowering of tariffs, we've been able to see much more trade emerging. At the moment, Australia's trading a lot in grains, in barley, in canola. And on the Mexican side, given Mexico's expertise in the automotive sector, we see Mexico exporting vehicles and vehicle parts to Australia. So I kind of like that idea of Australians driving around in cars that were made in Mexico. The second thing I want to do here in Mexico is to support the work that Australia and Mexico do in a multilateral context. Obviously, a lot of that work happens in New York, in Geneva, and Vienna, but I see my role as supporting that work, whether it's in climate change, disarmament, human rights, or non-proliferation. The third and final thing I'd outline is my desire to strengthen people-to-people links, including between our Indigenous peoples. Australia has one of the oldest Indigenous peoples in the world, and I think we can learn a lot from each other's experiences. Now that we've gotten over the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic, I'd love to see the strengthening of people-to-people links through educational exchanges and also tourism.
¿Cómo es la relación Australia-México? How is the Australia-Mexico relationship?
I think we can say that the relationship between Australia and Mexico is really strong. We get on really well. I know that Australians that come to Mexico love this country, have a deep respect for Mexican culture, Mexican food, Mexican traditions, Mexican history. And I think also, and I know through the Mexicans that I've met that have visited Australia, that they also really enjoy or have really enjoyed their time in Australia. Mexico and Australia share values. We have common interests, and that's reflected in our common membership of some really key international organisations, such as the G20, such as APEC, such as MICTA, which is a grouping of 5 countries: Mexico, Indonesia, South Korea, Turkey, and Australia. And we come together periodically to discuss key global issues. And most recently, our foreign ministers met on the margins of UNGA in New York in September this year. And I was really pleased that happened, because both Australia and Mexico now have female foreign ministers. And I was really thrilled that they could get to know each other.
Could you talk about your country, Australia, in development?
Yes, absolutely. Australia is both an ancient country and a new country. So as you may well know, Australia was colonised by the British in 1788, but they arrived in a country that had a very deep and rich history, with Indigenous peoples having a link to that land for over 65,000 years. Modern Australia, I would describe as a very open country. We're a very multicultural country. We have a long history of migration. I'm the children of migrants to Australia, and we also have had a very significant humanitarian program. So from this region, we saw, for example, after some troubles in El Salvador in the 1980s, thousands of El Salvadorians coming to live in Australia, and we now have a community of around 30,000 El Salvadorian Australians. But that's just one example. So we have a very open, welcoming approach, I would say. Our economy is very strong. We're the 12th largest economy in the world. And we've been able to achieve that not only through investing in business and in trade, but also in education and social programs in our country. And I think that we can be very proud of where Australia has come. And I might also note that with Australia's current government's focus on climate change and renewable energy, Australia is currently becoming a real superpower, a global renewable energy superpower. We are one of the largest producers of solar energy per capita, and we were the first country to export hydrogen. So that's a real focus for Australia into the future.
Well, si está de acuerdo, vamos a ver el video que nos envió. If you agree, we are going to watch the video that you sent us.
With pleasure.
Wonderful country, Ambassador. Well, I would like to ask what are the opportunities in Australia for business?
Well, I'd obviously love to see more Mexican investment in Australia. What Australia offers is a really supportive, business-friendly environment, and there's plenty of potential there for growth. We have dynamic industries, we have a skilled workforce, and we have predictable and easy to navigate business and regulatory frameworks, which I think make Australia a really attractive place for Mexican investment. I mentioned the CPTPP that provides us a really good framework for further trade and investment. At this current moment in time, most of the investment is happening in Mexico on the part of Australian businesses. We have some major Australian investments here in Mexico. Most recently, Woodside Energy, in partnership with Pemex, announced a $7 billion investment in the new Trion project in the Gulf of Mexico. So I was delighted to see that. But we also have companies such as Macquarie investing in real estate, investing in infrastructure, and a company named Aliatica investing in transport infrastructure that's really making a difference in and around Mexico City. So I think there's more room for growth in this space. I'd encourage Mexican businesses to look at food and agriculture, education, technology and innovation, and hope to advance that agenda while I'm here in Mexico.
Okay. Embajadora, ¿cómo se siente en México?
I love Mexico. That's the reason I wanted to come back. My family and I love Mexico City. We love exploring the city, and we also like getting out of town and exploring the incredible beaches, the incredible historical towns, and experiencing Mexico's culture. I recently enjoyed Day of the Dead in the beautiful San Miguel de Allende, and I can't wait for the next 3 years and all the adventures we're going to have here.
Okay. Anything else? Do you want to comment?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's been nice to be with you. I think I would just end by saying that hopefully in this post-pandemic world, we can see an increase in engagement between Australia and Mexico. I'd like to encourage Mexicans to consider Australia as a place for business, education, tourism, and yeah, I hope that we can see that over the course of the next 3 years. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ambassador Rachel Moseley. Gracias, embajadora.
Hasta luego.
Bueno, pues ya escuchaste a la embajadora con qué entusiasmo habla de estar en México, de la relación que hay entre Australia y México, de lo maravilloso que es su país, de las oportunidades que tienen con Australia. Y bueno, ¿qué te digo? Muchas gracias a Beatriz Sarur, a Juan Manuel Venegas Salinas, a Carla, y gracias a ti por acompañarnos. Este es el mundo para ti. Yo soy Sofía Salinas. Buen día.